past Rapp before stopping and then reversing. Investigators aren't sure what the motive may have been. Medina was arrested and charged with manslaughter. Rapp was considered one of the top new female boxers in America. Jason Walker reporting.
Defaults on student loans have surged across the United States, reaching record levels as borrowers struggle to keep up with payments. The numbers have spiked since payments started coming due again. News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith Peters reporting.
From the KSEV Weather Center, tonight will be mainly clear with a low of 76. Tomorrow, expect mostly sunny skies and hot weather as temperatures approach the record high of 101 set in 2000 with a high of 100. Tomorrow night will be clear to partly cloudy with a low of 79. Moving on to Wednesday, anticipate hazy sunshine and hot conditions with temperatures tying the record high from 2023 at 101 degrees. With the KSEV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
This program is brought to you in part by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals.
Call 281-441-4179.
ChrisX here to tell you about Humble Amco transmission and AC specialists. People who know go to Amco. I personally trust Jay Streckfus and Humble Amco with all of my vehicle's needs. With complete car care, they'll take care of all of your auto needs as well. Always a free check engine light inspection, and tell them that ChrisX sent you for a free engine scan. Call Jay today at 281-446-0862. That's 281-446-0862 or online at humbleamco.com.
Thank goodness our weather experts are providing us with hurricane tracking charts and reminding us to be prepared for big storms. But they overlook one very important thing, the damage and destruction from broken limbs and uprooted trees. Call Louis Flory at Ability Tree Experts today, my friend for nearly 40 years, at 244-4179, and let him explain how this problem can be minimized with professional pruning. You see, when the tree canopy is too thick and dense, the tree can be completely blown over and tree limbs broken, causing terrible damage to the tree and maybe your home. Where tree limbs break, sap will ooze, and that attracts harmful insects. So you need to call Louis Flory today at 281-441-4179 and have his experts come out and professionally prune your trees to withstand sudden storms that are so frequent this time of year. Visit their website at abilitytrees.com. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio.
What we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire interlink.
And now, your host.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
ChrisX.
So now they're finding people near the bayou that die later. They found somebody near a bayou today, and then they took that person to the hospital, and the person died. Okay. I didn't think the bayou story could get weirder, but it's getting weirder. Good afternoon, and welcome to ChrisX Radio. It is your Manic Monday edition of the program. Glad to have you here with us as we are ready to rock and roll here for the next couple hours. I am the aforementioned X-Man. And we'll, of course, be taking your phone calls as we normally do here at 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-573. Got a lot going on. There's so much to get into. Since we last met, which was last Thursday, we had a presidential address to the nation that some stations carried, some did not. The president declassified a lot of vote tampering in our elections. In fact, we've got emails and information that has been declassified. So, And Democrats and TDS, they don't care. They don't care at all. We don't care about that kind of stuff. We just, orange man bad, worse than China. China meddling with our elections. Oh, by the way, we come bearing a gift beyond price that is almost free, ladies and gentlemen. We bring you the spirit of talk radio. That's what we do here each and every weekday. Well, I guess at least Monday through Thursday. And then the Amigos take over on Fridays, which was the Amigos minus the judge, mostly. He called in last Friday. A pretty good Amigo show. I listened to most of it. My phone didn't ring off the hook this last Friday, so I was able to actually listen. So that was good. But anyway, so we got a lot going on. Okay, so the president spoke. We can talk a little bit about some of the vote tampering going on. Also, a member of the FBI sent an email saying that she was basically running a shadow government, withholding information from the president in his daily briefings and withholding it from the American people about election meddling from China. From China, okay. Maybe it's just me, but that kind of sounds bad. I mean, it sounds bad to me. I don't know. Democrats probably want to find her and give her an award. But anyway, but everybody knows we're running the real shadow government right here on ChrisXradio. Okay, also some updates here on the Maine Democrat primary. It looks like Transloaf won't be replacing Nazi tattoo guy in Maine. If you don't know who Transloaf is the candidate that looks like Meatloaf, but is a dude that dresses up like a chick and is trans, but is totally Meatloaf. I mean, literally, I don't think Meatloaf died. I think Meatloaf just turned trans. And this person, Ashley Webb. But it turns out they've all, most of them have bowed out. I don't know if Transloaf has bowed out yet. But Troy Jackson seems to be the guy. They look to be, he's the one getting all of the shadow votes, we'll just say. Yeah, you wonder why Democrats don't care about regular elections. They don't care about generals and things because they elect their own. Well, you don't get to elect them. Their people do. They pick their own candidates, the ones that they want. They don't care so much about you. Anyway, I've got some audio from Transloaf. We can hear how Transloaf is very... I just love the fact you call him Transloaf. Literally looks just like Meatloaf. It's Meatloaf in drag. So you get Transloaf. There you go. And also today, I don't know if we'll talk too much about this. Some ICE-hating dirtbag terrorist wannabe a-hole tried to burn down an ICE federal building this morning in New York City. Was caught immediately. So, of course, Mamdani will probably let him go. It looked like he had a bucket full of gasoline with some bombs in it and then poured it down some stairs and lit it on fire and then was immediately taken into custody after he set it on fire. Apparently, a couple of people were injured. I don't know if those things that were in the gasoline or whatever the accelerant was, because it lit up pretty quick. So, but anyway, I imagine that Mamdani will let this guy go as soon as possible because he's busy trying to put real criminals in jail like Benjamin Netanyahu. What? Yeah, we'll get into that. Okay, so also today there's a lot going on. Attorney General Ken Paxton's campaign has said that he would absolutely debate James Tallarico in the U.S. Senate race after Tallarico challenged him to do so Thursday morning. Tallarico's already accepted 3 different invitations to debate from 3 Texas media groups, and he urged Paxton, who's not participated in debates in a very long time, actually, like 10 years, to do the same. He said, I'll be on the debate stage because I need to answer to the people of Texas. That's your Tallarico statement. Ken Paxton won't answer to his billionaire donors. We'll see if they let him show up. I love how they always accuse Republicans of that sort of stuff. And then they show up and then they just pretend as though they never said it. Or will continue running with the lie, doesn't matter. The Paxton campaign confirmed it had received the same debate invitations as Tallarico. Paxton did not commit to a specific host. His campaign said that the Attorney General plans to debate him. I don't know. I don't think we're misgendering James Tallarico. He's a he, him, I think. Of course, we're going to debate James Tallarico, and we look forward to engaging with potential debate hosts. Paxton Senior Advisor Nick Maddox said in a statement, Tallarico is a serial liar who has spent his entire campaign shamelessly deceiving Texas voters about his radical record without answering the hard questions. Once again, Tallarico has accepted invitations from Nexstar Media Group, KXAN News, and NBC News, NBC Universal, Hearst, Texas, and WFAA Tegna. So we'll see which one or how many they end up debating. I think they'll debate maybe once, maybe twice. There's only like 3 months till the election. Let's see. We're 3/4 of the way through July. So we got August, September, October, bam, the election. I don't see one happening each month. So we get your take on that. How many times do you guys think Ken Paxton will debate Tallarico? How much you want to bet if they debate the first time and Tallarico gets smoked, he doesn't want to do the other debates? Now, I don't know how good of a debater Ken Paxton is. I don't know how many minds would actually be changed by a debate or how many people would actually even watch it. Nerds like me, I'll watch it. But then again, I watch it with a very informed eye, something that a lot of people don't do. Most people have no idea that Tallarico is now cosplaying as a moderate candidate. He's actually a radical trans activist leftist. He's a total weirdo. But long as they can keep spending those hundreds of millions of dollars to convince people he's not, he's got a chance in this race. And the polls show it. They're pretty much dead even right now, well within the margin of error. So we got that. The national average of gasoline, the prices have climbed back above $4 a gallon as the fighting between the U.S. and Iran has intensified. This is disrupting one of the world's most important oil shipping routes, of course, the Strait of Hormuz. Now, here in Texas, at least the Houston area, we're not anywhere near $4 a gallon unless you're buying it directly off of the Beltway somewhere or off 59 South right there in the heart of the city. There are places where you can get it for like $3.30, $3.20 a gallon. So we tend to be a little lower than the national average. But since that MOUSE has fallen off in Iran, the fighting's going back on. And there's some bad developments. At least a couple of soldiers were killed in an attack in Jordan. Looks like another third soldier was killed as well. So President Trump is now warning that Iran will pay many times over after those U.S. soldiers had been killed. He has vowed a strong response. We've had, like the 9th straight day, and Trump is now pounding the country with bombs. So we'll see how this goes and plays out, and at what point will Iran scream mercy or fake mercy or whatever. We can get into that. President Trump said that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will not be arrested in any way, shape, or form while visiting the U.S., a response that comes from the New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani, who said the International Criminal Court's arrest warrant against the Israeli leader should be honored. So Mamdani wants to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. And President Trump is like, no, you crazy terrorist bastard. You're not going to arrest him. Why don't you go arrest the Iranians? Oh, I'm sorry. You sympathize with them. Maybe Hamas, maybe some of those, maybe Vladimir Putin. I don't know. Why does New York City, the mayor, why is he talking about the president of Israel or the prime minister? Oh, that's right. He's one of those anti-Semitic dirtbags. Oh, now I understand why he is threatening to arrest one of our allies and definitely not one of our adversaries. Not a peep from that dirtbag regarding Iran or ISIS or Hezbollah or Hamas. Oh, I'm sure he has lots in common with those people. I know his wife does for sure. Okay, so after President Trump's primetime speech to the nation, which was on July 16th, last Thursday, he revealed that his administration now has evidence that he has declassified the federal intelligence officials were withholding intelligence not only to the American people, but to him about China's involvement in election tampering in the U.S. We can get this. There are reports now, and you can go look at the emails, whitehouse.gov. I think it's still up. Nikki Flores, F-O-L-R-I-S, Flores, a former FBI analyst and senior leader who was charged with oversight of election security in 2020. Hold on, let's run that back. A former FBI analyst and senior leader who was charged with oversight of election security in 2020 once wrote that she was basically running a shadow government across the FBI, withholding information from the president's daily press briefings, withholding information from the American people, with massive attempts to to interfere with our elections from China. So it turns out Trump wasn't just being hyperbolic. There actually is people that were running a shadow government, unelected people in our agencies that were weaponized against the president. We can get into that as well. We'll also take your phone calls. Tell you what, let's go ahead and take a break, and then we'll take your phone calls here on the other side. Looks like we got Mike in Jersey Village. Mike, hold on. You'll be up next. 281-558-KSEV. 281-558-5738. You're listening to ChrisX Radio. We're just getting started. Don't you go anywhere, and we'll be right back.
ChrisX Radio. Texas born, Texas raised. The voice of Texas. The Three Amigos.
You all are appointment listening. I listen to you every Friday afternoon. Everything stops for you all.
The Three Amigos. Make an appointment every Friday afternoon at 4 on The Voice of Texas.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home and in need of the best realtors out there, look no further than the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. They've instilled in each and every member of their team hard work and honest values. And believe me, it's paid off. They truly know the Houston market and what it takes to get a home sold quickly and at top dollar, and how to get the best deal possible for your home purchase. They're employee-owned. They care about their clients, so they always go the extra mile to ensure each sale and purchase is seamless and smooth. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group have been a top producing real estate team for over 2 decades. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group at 281-440-7900 or see for yourself and go online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com. They sell over 1,000 homes a year, and they know every inch of the buying and selling market in Houston. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. I chose them as my realtor. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, your realtors for life. 281-440-7900 or see for yourself online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com.
That's the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, brokered by EXP.
Hello, friends. Let's be honest. Every business says they're better, but the ones that earn the prestigious BBB seal back it up. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And it instantly identifies reputable businesses you can trust. So look for the BBB seal, because it's looking out for you. It's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org. That's bbb.org.
Check-A-Pro Joe here. Don't miss the Check-A-Pro Radio Show, your trusted source for home service pros. This week, we're featuring Bel Air Air Conditioning, keeping Houston cool and comfortable. Tune in every Friday at 11 a.m., right here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
Thank goodness our weather experts are providing us with hurricane tracking charts and reminding us to be prepared for big storms. But they overlook one very important thing: the damage and destruction from broken limbs and uprooted trees. Call Louis Flory at Ability Tree Experts today. My friend for nearly 40 years, at 281-441-4179, and let him explain how this problem can be minimized with professional pruning. You see, when the tree canopy is too thick and dense, the tree can be completely blown over and tree limbs broken, causing terrible damage to the tree and maybe your home. Where tree limbs break, sap will ooze, and that attracts harmful insects. So you need to call Louis Flory today at 281-441-4179 and have his experts come out and professionally prune your trees to withstand sudden storms that are so frequent this time of year. Visit their website at abilitytrees.com. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professional.
And now, back to ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio on the voice of Texas.
You know, they make our producers do that noise live. This right here. I call it the monkey noise. Lucas, did they train you to do that monkey noise, or do you just have to do it on the fly?
Oh, at Juilliard, it was day one.
All right, welcome back to ChrisX Radio. I'm the aforementioned X-Man. Glad to have you here with us on your Manic Monday edition of the program. We got a lot to talk about. We can talk about what the president covered. I imagine you guys probably watched it, talked to the amigos about it. Turns out there is vote tampering in our elections. China was trying to do it. Turns out there wasn't Russia collusion, even though the agencies were weaponized against the president to pretend that he was doing that. But that wasn't happening, but China was actually doing it, and they were hiding it from the president and the American people. So there was that. But no, we can trust our elections. They're totally good. They're totally cool. We don't need any voter ID. I mean, you need voter ID to get the pasta pass, which, by the way, I'm thinking about getting at Olive Garden. No, I don't need any additional pasta. But sounds pretty good. But you have to show ID for that. We could learn a thing about elections from Olive Garden, an American institution. By the way, it's funny because the president declassified a lot of information regarding, tampering in our elections, and Democrats do not care. They sent out statements before the president spoke how they don't care, and they're not going to care, and they're never going to care because they don't care. This is all about power. It looks like Transloaf, Ashley Webb, won't be replacing the Nazi tattoo guy, the candidate in Maine for the Democrat seat to try to go up against Susan Collins. Did you guys see the group of people that I guess were there for a debate? And then there was one candidate that looked a whole lot like Meatloaf in drag, because Meatloaf had longer hair too. So, I mean, looked a lot like Meatloaf. In fact, I think maybe Meatloaf didn't die. I think he's just playing a new part. And we call him Transloaf, Ashley Webb. But it looks like the guy, Troy Jackson, looks like he's going to be the guy after a few of the other candidates have already dropped out and threw their support behind him, when he's the one that's going to get the, well, not the people's votes, other people's votes. The Democrat people in charge of the party, they'll determine. They'll tell you who you get to vote for. You don't worry about it. This is the Democrats' form of democracy. And some ICE-hating dirtbag tried to burn down an ICE federal building in New York City this morning. He was caught immediately. So I'm wondering if Mamdani has let him go yet, or how long it'll be before he lets him go. So we can get into that. We can talk about James Tallarico and Ken Paxton. Look like they're going to square off in at least one debate, possibly more. And gas is climbing back up above $4 a gallon. That's, well, at least in some areas. It was like $3.30. I got gas the other day. Of course, I think I'm going to head up to the Hill Country this weekend, so I'm going to be spending some money on some gas then. Oh, well, that's the cost of doing business. If you guys want to Zelle me some money so I can afford gas to put in my truck. And once again, I still drive my Ford Ranger. It's still good. Still gets good gas mileage. So your money would be well spent. There are 3 states paying more than $5 a gallon. Gee, I wonder why that is. How about Democrat-run states for $1,000, Alex? Indiana supposedly has the cheapest gas with an average price of $3.35 per gallon. I paid less than that just the other day. So I don't know if it's less than Texas. Do we even count, or do they just consider us our own country? I don't know. All right, let's go to the phones. 281-558-KSEV if you want to join us. 281-558-5738. Let's pick up with Ray, listening in the Woodlands. Ray, thank you for hanging on. Welcome to ChrisX Radio.
Hey, Chris, Ray here, and I think the Democrat Freak Show is getting all of the oxygen in the room, but I wanted to ask you about something you talked about Thursday, regarding the UFO phenomenon, and that you had seen something over by Intercontinental Airport. I'm just curious, what what it was, what you seem to think it was, and where do you think this stuff is coming from in our local area and that sort of thing?
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, let me expand that. This happened a few years ago, and it was right after the show, and I was driving up Jones Road, heading towards 249. So I wasn't close to Intercontinental, but that is a flight pattern because I see a lot of planes go that way. And something flew over me while I was on the road, and it was traveling at a speed that was way faster than any airplane or helicopter I've ever seen. I've seen plenty of them in the area. It was flying low, probably maybe 100, 200 yards above the top of the trees, which are those tall pine trees. It was dark in shape. It was shaped weird. It wasn't shaped like a traditional aircraft. I didn't see any visible wings on it. There was no lights on it. And it was a dark gray color or a black color. So I figure when I first saw it, I was so astonished, and it went by so fast, there was absolutely zero time for me to grab my phone and try to get a picture or a video of it.
Yeah.
And it was flying low enough that, like I said, I saw it come across from one side of trees, cross the road, and then go the other. And it was going so fast, there was no way to catch it. And then I mentioned, of course, I saw it and I didn't know what it was. After going back and trying to research online of various aircrafts, it could possibly one of those, what they call like the dark ops or the black ops, some sort of maybe a military craft that they don't really want people talking about. And it seemed to be coming from the Bush Intercontinental area, heading somewhere else. So I mentioned it on the air when I came back, and I got multiple emails, including people that saw it. That saw it fly, and my next door neighbor, his daughter saw it as well. She was out in the driveway and she saw it fly by and was like, she had no idea what it was. So, but whatever it was going extremely fast, and it was not lit up. There were no lights, no discernible lighting on it, and it was like I said, it was dark gray or black. And I described it as a Millennium Falcon in reverse. It looked like a Millennium Falcon flying backwards. Now, once again, I had very little time to see it and really get a good look at it, so I don't know. And then when I looked up some of these spy planes that we have, there are some that could be interpreted that way if you're looking at it from the angle that I was looking. So it's possible it could have been one of those. I have no idea what it was. I just know it was faster than any commercial aircraft or drone I have ever seen, and it was hauling booty. And I've only seen it one time. Never saw anything like that again.
So maybe Gary Larson's Far Side cartoons about the humans being watched by other creatures, maybe some truth to that.
Yeah, it's very possible. We're now learning from the releases from our government that there's some sort of objects out there. Apparently, there's all different kinds that are flying around, and maybe we're being observed by something that we didn't know has been here all along, or something that has recently traveled here. Or from the looks of things, they're releasing things back from the 40s and 50s and even 60s, and so maybe there's some things that have been visiting us for a very long time. We just really didn't have the technology to catch up and realize they were up there.
All right. Well, thank you for your explanation. Appreciate that.
Well, thank you for the call, Ray. I appreciate it. Like I said, that's just what I've seen. That's really the only UAP, unexplained aerial phenomena, that I've ever seen. I remember as a kid when was it called Space Lab, when it came crashing back to Earth? This is probably was it the 70s or early 80s? You old timers probably remember better than me because I was a young kid. I remember us getting our lawn chairs and sitting out in the driveway all night waiting to see it come by. And of course, we didn't see anything, waited forever. And I went inside to get a drink. And then when I came back outside, and as soon as I sat in my chair, we saw the Space Lab, and that was a UAP to us as a kid, because that was this weird thing coming from space. And then, of course, it entered the atmosphere and caught on fire and burned up and crashed somewhere. I don't even remember where it landed. So I saw that. But and I've seen, when I go up to the hill country, that's one of the things I really enjoy about being up there in the hill country is you don't have all that light pollution that we get here in the city. So at night, you can see things that you don't normally see. So I'll see planes flying around for sure, but you can also see the satellites. You can see the satellites crossing overhead, and you can tell because they go from one side of the sky to the other, and they go pretty quick. Now, these are satellites in orbit, and those you can kind of tell. But every now and then, you start seeing some weird lights and some things that could be satellites, could be whatever. We don't know. They're just unidentified. So, but those I wouldn't consider any of the things that I've seen up there to be some sort of non-human intelligence. But whatever it was that I saw, that it was so funny because I just finished doing the show. This was about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I just finished doing the show and was going to get something to eat, going to get dinner. And I'm going down Jones Road, wasn't thinking about UFOs, and there's always planes and things flying over, so I see them, and I just happened to look up and saw this thing crossing, and it went so fast. I went, this thing it was out of sight before it was in sight. It was hauling, and the fact that there weren't any lights on it and it was dark. Very seldom do you see dark objects flying in the sky. Generally, there's lights, obviously, and if it's a plane, it's going to be a particular color. You know, the commercial airlines look one way, the smaller jets. Sometimes there are military craft that are the different colors, and that could have been a military craft. But the fact that it was going so fast and flying so low, it was very low. And but the other thing too was there was no noise. It made zero noise. I didn't hear anything. In fact, I reached over to roll down my window. Because in my brain, I thought, I'm going to be able to roll down the window, grab my phone, which was sitting in my console or next to it, little drink holder, and then pull it up and be able to get a video or a photo of this. Because no one's going to believe me if I just say I saw it. Well, I saw it. And it was legit. And it was so weird was because the next day I talked about it on the radio and I went, listen, you guys are going to think I'm crazy. I'm making this up. And then I mentioned it. And then boom, here come the emails and messages. And then my neighbor who was listening to the show goes, hey, man, his daughter saw it. I was like, what? So I talked to her. She saw exactly what I saw. And it seemed like everybody else, it was weird because other than her, everybody else were in different parts of town. And they saw it in different ways, at different angles, in different parts. So, like I said, it could have been coming from, Bush Intercontinental, heading up towards, who knows, northwest, I guess. So it could have been heading up to one of our, military bases or whatever. There's really no telling where this thing was going. But that my assumption is that's what it was. It could have been some experimental, flying craft of some sort. Could have been a military vessel. I know when people first saw the stealth bombers, those didn't look like anything that we had in the sky. They're like, well, this looks like a UFO. But it didn't look like a flying saucer. It wasn't a flying saucer. It was some other flying craft, and it was weird. Anyway, thank you for the call, Ray. I appreciate it. So there you go. There's my 2-year update. I haven't seen it again. And now, the other thing, too, is anytime I'm driving now, if I'm on the freeway or I'm around I'm watching the road, but I'm also looking up in the sky to see if I see anything. Because after you see something like that, you don't forget it. And I remember exactly what it looked like. And, boy, I saw it for maybe a second and a half. Which normally when airplanes fly over this little stretch where I'm talking about, it's basically, I was at Jones Road and Luetta. I was right about there. And so there's trees lining both sides of the road, and there's a good gap. When I see airplanes or the helicopters that usually fly a lot higher, some will be lower, when they go across, it takes probably 30 to 45 seconds, sometimes a minute. This thing crossed that whole thing less than 2 seconds. And it was hauling. So I don't know what it was. But I didn't get abducted. I didn't get probed. So that's a good thing. All right, let's take a short break. You're listening to ChrisXradio. I wonder how many people thought I was crazy after I mentioned seeing it. But I think, like I said, it could be just, the Black Ops. Could be an experimental craft. Could be just a plane that we have. Or a, vehicle or whatever. Could have been one of those weird drones. They've got some of those bigger military drones now that some look like planes, some look like other things. And what's weird now, we got these drones, the delivery drones, which don't look anything like that. But when those fly by, you can hear them. They sound like drones. But it does look like you're watching a UFO movie when the drone flies over and stops, and then a smaller drone comes out of it and goes and delivers a package and then comes back up and connects, and then it takes off. That's fascinating. All right, you're listening to ChrisXradio, 281-558 KSEV. Don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Call ChrisXradio now, 281-558-KSEV.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nick's Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nicksplumbing.com.
NPL 38548. Does your company have a cybersecurity rider? Are you compliant with its terms? If you are not sure, call Technical Cyber Services for a free consultation. 713-229-0030 or go online at tacticalcyberservices.com.
If you have roof problems, you can sure see them when it rains. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing. If you see a leak, call me immediately, 281-251-0304. I'll send over the Tejas Roof Repair truck.
That truck has everything our experienced crew needs to fix your roof, right then and there.
The Tejas Roofing crew has been working together fixing leaky roofs for 15 years.
It's not a pretty truck, but it has everything we need to get the job done. I kind of like the way it looks.
Most roofing repairs cost less than $500. Why? Because we find the cause of the leak and repair that leak. We won't try to sell you services you don't need.
And we'll fix it right away because everything we need is in our truck.
Don't put off fixing a leaky roof. Call me at Tejas Roofing and I'll send over the truck. 281-251-0304. When you think of roofing repairs or a new roof, think Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
Hey y'all, it's Craig Collins. I wanted to let you know that my show airs every afternoon on KSEV from 6 to 7 p.m. I also wanted to encourage you to follow our social media pages. We are now live streaming most of our local content on KSEV Radio's YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter pages, as well as some of our select shows on KSEV Radio's Facebook page. Once again, please follow us at KSEV Radio on YouTube, Rumble, and X. And please follow me at Radio Craig C on X and on Facebook.
Tune in each Sunday morning at 9 a.m. for On the Money with your host and CEO of Allied Wealth Texas, Ryan Wheelis, who can help you live your richest life possible during your retirement years. That's each Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on AM 700 KSEV.
The best in financial talk and more. Money Matters every Monday through Thursday from 11 a.m. till noon here on AM 700 KSEV and streaming online at ksevradio.com.
From the KSEV Weather Center, tonight will be mainly clear with a low of 76. Tomorrow, expect mostly sunny skies and hot weather as temperatures approach the record high of 101 set in 2000 with a high of 100. Tomorrow night will be clear to partly cloudy with a low of 79. Moving on to Wednesday, anticipate hazy sunshine and hot conditions with temperatures tying the record high from 2023 at 101 degrees. With the KSEV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
And now, we return you to your regularly scheduled dose of common sense. ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio.
Well, we may have an eminence front coming in by the weekend. It's funny watching the weather forecasters talk about this storm, tropical depression. Is it a depression yet, or is it a tropical storm, or whatever it is? But they're all saying it's going to hit the coast and go straight west, and then head to Houston. So everybody's freaking out. I already had one friend text me, "You better go get some toilet paper." I'm still stocked up from the last 4 hoaxes, okay? I'm good. I don't think we're all right. So we'll have to wait and see. What I need to stock up on is a battery that's going to run my entire home. Which, by the way, somebody called in. I forgot. I need to get that number again from Lucas. If you have that information, will you email it to me? A guy called in and said something about he's maybe got some batteries or whatever, or he's doing it, so I can get at least a take on what's happening. When my electricity contract is end up at the end of this year is when I'm going to switch. Now, that'll be after hurricane season, but I'm going to switch and probably go over to one of the companies that does the batteries, or at least get the batteries and do that, because I want some sort of backup, because my power goes off entirely too often. So I don't like loading up the refrigerator. But that year when was it the derecho and then Beryl, or the ice storm and then the derecho or whatever, 2 times in the same year I had a full refrigerator full of food that was completely wasted because of being without power for 3 or 4 days. So need to get something, and the generators are just really expensive, and the way my house is set up, I don't know if it'd be good. I like the idea of the battery. If the battery works, then I could be all for that. So, well, but I have to make sure they work and see how long they work and what all you need, and so I'll check on that. So, anyway, welcome back to ChrisX Radio. I'm the aforementioned X-Man. It is our Manic Monday. Once again, the president spoke. He declassified a lot of info. We'll get to that here in the program. The Democrats and TDS, they don't care. They don't care about vote tampering at all. In fact, some of the networks didn't even carry the president's speech. They're just, we're not going to carry those lies. That's funny how what the networks determine are lies. I guess that email from an actual FBI agent claiming to run a shadow government by withholding information from the president and the American people, I guess that's all fake news? Okay, we can talk about it. Looks like, by the way, in the Maine Democrat primary race, Graham Plattner bowed out, and instead this guy I call Transloaf, he looks just like Meatloaf. Ashley Webb's a trans person who is the most obvious trans person ever in the history of dudes pretending to be chicks, was running. And what's weird, I heard him speak. He sounded like a nice guy, actually, but they're crazy. And then he actually said he gets monthly cycles through his anus because he's not a woman. And my only response that I could come up with something so insane is if he broke into Graham Plattner's house, there would definitely be some blood coming from his anus. And, I'll just leave it at that before I get myself in trouble. All right, let's go get another call here. Am I allowed to say that? Am I in trouble, Lucas? Tell me I'm not going to get Graham Plattner now. All right, 281-558-KSEV if you want to join us. 281-558-5738. Let's go to Don listening in Point Blank. Don, thank you for hanging on. Welcome to ChrisX Radio.
Yeah, time passed so fast. That object from space that you referred to, it's called Skylab.
Oh, is it Skylab.
But it was around 1979, 1980. It ended up waking up a farmer in Australia. It landed in Australia.
Wow, that's right. I remember now that you're saying it. I'd forgotten, couldn't remember where it landed, and I couldn't remember what it's called, but you're right, Skylab. It wasn't Space Lab. And it did. It came crashing back down to Earth. And if I remember, it left debris in a few areas, but mainly it was, as you mentioned, it was in Australia. And I do believe somebody said it was 1979. And that sounds about right.
Yeah.
That was about the age I was, and we were hanging out watching it. But that was I remember as a kid, man, your imagination runs wild when you're watching something, coming back down to Earth and then going through the atmosphere and watching it light up. And it was just fascinating to watch that as it was happening. Did you look for it? Did you watch it, Don?
No, I figured the chances of it landing here were so remote, I probably just went to bed. But what did land here, unfortunately, was Columbia.
Yeah, the space shuttle. Yeah, I remember that. I was working at another station at the time, and what's weird was I got a call from a Korean radio station, and I wasn't on the air. I was just a producer at the time. And I was the only one there because it was a Sunday, and I got a call from a Korean television station that wanted to interview somebody from Houston, and they found our number and called. And I, talked to my boss. My boss said, "Absolutely, do the interview." So I did the interview with Korean television about the space shuttle coming back and crashing back to Earth, and now I hear commercials talking about if all the people were really killed. I'm pretty sure everybody was actually killed. When that was a very terrible situation that happened.
Nobody could have survived either Challenger or Columbia. There's no way. But I know up in the national forest here there was supposed to be debris. They just warned people not to touch it. And I don't know if it was radioactive or what, but they did find pieces up around here.
Yeah, it was bizarre. I know they found it was scattered a very long way.
Yeah,
I know they found pieces in Palestine, Texas, or Palestine, and that area, of course, basically just a whole trail all the way coming just to the north of the Houston area. And I remember, you're right, they'd found some out there in the Lake Livingston area. So they just found all kinds of debris. It was just a terrible thing for them to be that close to getting back and then such a tragedy to happen. So, but I didn't see any of that.
I didn't see any either. But what I did see, you were talking about the hill country. I was up, this is, probably 15 years ago, up around Vanderpool. You know where that is? And
no, where is Vanderpool?
Lost Maples State Park. It's a beautiful area. It's up there, in the hill country. It's not as far north or west as Mason, but it's right in the middle of the hills.
Okay, I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, Vanderpool, very, very beautiful place. But I went outside one night, and the lady that owned it, this place I was staying at, she said that I looked up and I couldn't believe what I saw, the Milky Way. I mean, it wasn't a fuzzy galaxy. It was just like you were in the middle of it, stretched from horizon to horizon. And the air was so clear. She said, this was in September, and she said that even for there, it was unusual. A front had come through and cleared it out. And that's why West Texas, Central and West Texas, like they have the McDonald Observatory out there simply because the sky is so clear.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, I looked it up. It's just north and west of San Antonio. So up there just a little bit west of Kerrville. So that's great sky viewing area. It's interesting. Thanks for the call, Don. We need to go and take a break here before we wrap up this first hour because we got one more segment to go. That's cool because I've been able to see portions of it when I'm up in the hill country, when I'm up in, Mason. The coolest thing that I've got was there was one time when the planets were lining up, and I didn't realize, how much they had lined up. And I could see that the moon was on one side of the sky, but then there was Venus. I guess it was Venus. I think it was Venus or Mars. And it was so lit up, it looked like a full moon. It was a little smaller, so I went to take multiple pictures of Venus. When I went back to look at pictures on my phone, there were 7 planets. You could see them all. As I zoomed in on the phone, I could see all the planets lined up behind it. I couldn't see them with the naked eye, but I could see them in the pictures. And I still have those pictures, and I'm going to make sure I hang on to those because that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I was like, I wish I had realized it. When I got back, I heard they were all lined up, and I went back and checked. I got pictures of it. It was so crazy. But it's just that, you can see things that clearly. All right, thanks for the call, Don. 281-558-KSEV. You're listening to ChrisX Radio. We'll come back, wrap up this first hour, get you locked and loaded for hour number 2. Don't you go anywhere.
The voice of Texas. The voice of reason. ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio.
It's hot, it's humid, it's Texas. You know we're in for a long, hot summer. Nolan Ryan for American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. Beat back the hot Texas sun once and for all with the cool, clean home comfort of American Standard. Consumer testing says American Standard is one of the best, but your family comfort means the most. It's that important, and it's what we do in Texas. Stay cool this summer. Peace of mind is everything in this business. Comfort the way you like it. AmericanStandardAir.com.
Hi, y'all. It's Kathy from Baker Mortgage. With all the scary stuff we've been through, it's still true that timing is everything, and the time to buy is now. But don't go looking without a solid pre-approval in hand. And this includes an application and a detailed discussion about property taxes. If you didn't have the talk, about property taxes, you really don't know what you're pre-approved for. That should make you wonder what else they may have left out. Mortgages are personal. Let's face it, we're dealing with your home and your money, and it doesn't get much more personal than that. When it's the largest transaction that most people will ever be involved in, imagine having someone on your side looking out after you. What a concept. We audit your closing statement to make sure you're not paying for things that you're not supposed to. Do you think your big bank's going to do that? Probably not. For all of your mortgage needs, call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
If you're looking to buy or sell a home and in need of the best realtors out there, look no further than the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. They've instilled in each and every member of their team hard work and honest values, and believe me, it's paid off. They truly know the Houston market and what it takes to get a home sold quickly and at top dollar, and how to get the best deal possible for your home purchase. They're employee-owned. They care about their clients, so they always go the extra mile to ensure each sale and purchase is seamless and smooth. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group have been a top-producing real estate team for over 2 decades. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group at 281-440-7900 or see for yourself and go online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com. They sell over 1,000 homes a year, and they know every inch of the buying and selling market in Houston. Call Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group. I chose them as my realtor. The Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, your realtors for life. 281-440-7900 or see for yourself online at thematthewsteam.com. That's thematthewsteam.com.
That's the Ronnie and Kathy Matthews Group, brokered by EXP.
Whether you're playing with your kids or playing for the Houston Astros, a sprain, tear, or nagging ache can set you back. Until your expert orthopedic team at Houston Methodist uses advanced technology to personalize a treatment plan that's minimally invasive, healing your pain and getting you back to life on your terms. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it for you. Houston Methodist, leading medicine. Official healthcare provider for the Houston Astros.
You're listening to ChrisXradio, AM 700, KSEV.
It's interesting, a little Everlong here coming talking about the night skies and seeing the Milky Way or the galaxies, and it's pretty incredible what you can see when you get up out of the cities and get away from the light pollution, I guess they call it. Kind of like noise pollution. Well, all of the light we have in the big cities tends to pollute the skies. You can't really see as far. But man, when you get out in the hill country, you're out in the sticks and there's no light for miles around, you can see some cool stuff. So I appreciate the call from Don out in Point Blank. So he got to see just everything. It's also a bit of a humbling feeling because, so often we run around only concerned about ourselves and our lives and what's going on. But then you look up and you realize we're just this tiny little piece of organic matter running around on a tiny little rock that is in a tiny little spiral galaxy. Actually, we're in a tiny little solar system in a spiral galaxy surrounded by trillions of other galaxies and stars. And you go, maybe we're not as awesome as we think we are. Not that we're not amazing. Human beings are amazing. And we're special in our own way for sure, especially to us. But maybe we're not as evolved or as important as we think we are. Now, of course, to us, yeah, we're everything. But to possibly something from another dimension or solar system, which I was covered it last week, the ChrisXfiles, we did the latest release of the UAP files, UFO files. I saw another article. I'm not covering it today. I may cover it later this week. Could be the next ChrisXfiles. There's an FBI file revealing reports of 4-foot-tall beings emerging from a UFO. Some of these things going back to the 60s and 50s, and some of the weird stuff that has been, the disinformation is pretty good. It can run everything away and just make anyone who mentions you see a UFO, they make you out to be a total whack job. But it turns out maybe people have been seeing things for a very long time, and they've just made them all look like weirdos. Anyway, this is the final segment of the first hour. We're going to get you locked and loaded for hour number 2. Let's jump back to the phones here and wrap things up with Toby, whom I refer to call him as Kunta Kinte, calling from Katy. Hey, Toby, thanks for hanging on. Welcome to ChrisX Radio.
Hey, Chris. Well, you got started talking about UFOs, so I want to talk about UFOs.
Sure.
Okay, so I have been to Area 51, like Rachel, Nevada, which is out in the middle of nowhere in Nevada. There's a highway that runs near this, not a highway, a 2-lane road called the ET Highway. And if you ever go out there and you're out there you can see every freaking star in the galaxy at night out there, including like the arm of the Milky Way. I did not see any UFOs or anything weird when I was out there, but also been to the crash site at Roswell, the actual crash site, the Brazil Ranch, where the object crashed in 1947, and to the actual spot. I've actually been to the actual spot.
Wow.
But yeah, I've been into UFOs for a long time, and you talk about how long they've been here. Well, go read the Bible. Go look at. I don't know if you've ever heard of Eric von Däniken. He's the guy that theorized that, of course, that the pyramids were built by aliens, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But there's so much stuff in this world that, you look at and say, how did humans do that? I don't see how they could have done it. But it's a fascinating topic, and I find it even more fascinating now because, people want to call them demons, if these aliens exist. They want to call them demons. I don't believe they're demons. I think with all the stars in this universe, and galaxies, trillions and trillions of galaxies, trillions upon trillions of stars, we cannot be the only life in this universe.
Yeah, Toby, first of all, that's very cool. I would like to go visit. I wanted to go to Area 51 for a while, but then I realized you can't really get close to it. You can just drive around it. So I definitely want to go to Roswell, New Mexico. I want to go to the UFO-shaped McDonald's, and I'd love to go to the crash site. So I plan to do that. Yeah, I think people who see them as demons are just simply projecting their own views on them. And I tend to agree with you. We're not the only ones. We're not alone. Hour number 2 is up next.
AM 700 KSEV, Tomball, Houston, and streaming online at KSEVradio.com, the voice of Texas.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Gas prices are going up once more.
U.S. gas prices have hit an average of $4 a gallon once more. That's according to AAA and came as the U.S. and Iran launched more attacks. The average price a year ago was $3.14 a gallon. The price is a national average, meaning drivers in some states have been paying well over $4 a gallon for a while now. Prices vary between states due to factors ranging from nearby supply to differing tax rates. People around the world are also dealing with high gas prices as a result of the war. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Vice President J.D. Vance and Second Lady Usha Vance have welcomed their 4th child.
The second couple announced the birth of their newborn son on social media on Sunday. Alec Neil Vance is the first child born to a sitting vice president in more than 150 years. Alec joins older Vance siblings Ewan, Vivek, and Mirabelle. The vice president's growing family is in keeping with his passionate advocacy for Americans to have more children.
That's Washington correspondent Andrew Stewart reporting. The U.S. military has a new update on recent attacks in the Middle East. Willie Nelson reports.
U.S. Central Command says another American service member has died during Operation Epic Fury. The service member was killed in northern Iraq during the controlled detonation of unexploded ordnance from a downed Iranian attack drone. CENTCOM also says unidentified remains have been recovered in Jordan following last week's Iranian attack, with the identification process now underway. Willie Nelson, The Whiteout.
And this evening, the United States has conducted a new round of airstrikes targeting Iran. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 307 points, the Nasdaq dropped 12, the S&P 500 lower by 14. More at townhall.com.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu. My Computer Career, an elite CompTIA certification partner.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Now there's a new way to take charge of your blood sugar. Introducing new Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula from the makers of the nation's best-selling garlic supplement. New Garlic helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels with clinically supported levels of garlic, plus a custom blend of vitamins and minerals, and it's odor-free. Take charge of your blood sugar with new Garlic Healthy Blood Sugar Formula. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Hi, this is Michael Miller. Join me this weekend for the Backyard Bay radio program, now at our new time, Saturday mornings at 9 a.m., right here on AM 700 KSEV, The Voice.
This True Sand commentary is brought to you by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals. Call 281-441-4179.
From KSEV, here's political contributor Ben Strusand.
Military planners always assumed that if a war with Iran began, the Iranians would attempt to take the Persian Gulf hostage and close the Straits of Hormuz. What nobody expected was that the Iranians would be allowed to export while America's allies, the Saudis, Kuwaitis, the UAE, and occasionally Qatar, would be blocked. A sort of mutually assured destruction was expected to provide enough leverage on Iran to keep the straits open. Yet, for a brief period, they were allowed to export their own crude and charge a ransom to anyone else wanting to do the same. That is, until the U.S. Navy stepped in with a blockade of its own on all Iranian exports, including crude oil. In just a few weeks, Iranian storage will max out, leaving Iranian oil producers with no other choices but to shut in oil wells permanently, damaging their ability to fund their economy, pay their military, and bankroll their terrorist proxies. The cutoff would be close to 100%, a huge blow if continued. Which is why, even though Democrats in Congress attempted to hand the Iranians a victory by pulling funding from our military, the United States will successfully force the Iranians to yield and concede to open the straits and end their nuclear weapons program, one way or another. Despite the media fawning over the brilliance of Iranian strategy, the Iranians will lose. Despite his political opponents rooting for U.S. strategy to fail, President Trump has bent the arc of history and dealt a homicidal regime a blow it will take decades to recover. The American people have not supported this war, and high gas prices will harm Republican chances in November. But the prospects of a deal on America's terms should result in us doing a lot better than most people think. I'm Ben Strusand, and that's my view.
Ben Strusand. Only on AM 700 KSEV.
Thank goodness our weather experts are providing us with hurricane tracking charts and reminding us to be prepared for big storms. But they overlook one very important thing, the damage and destruction from broken limbs and uprooted trees. Call Louis Flory at Ability Tree Experts today, my friend for nearly 40 years, at 281-441-4179, and let him explain how this problem can be minimized with professional pruning. You see, when the tree canopy is too thick and dense, the tree can be completely blown over and tree limbs broken, causing terrible damage to the tree and maybe your home. Where tree limbs break, sap will ooze, and that attracts harmful insects. So you need to call Louis Flory today at 281-441-4179 and have his experts come out and professionally prune your trees to withstand sudden storms that are so frequent this time of year. Visit their website at abilitytrees.com. That's 281-441-4179. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio.
What we need right now is a clear message to the people of this country. This message must be read in every newspaper, heard on every radio, seen on every television. This message must resound throughout the entire interlink.
And now, your host.
I believe this is going to be our finest hour.
ChrisX.
Okay, as I'm watching the local news, a person dies after being found near bayou. Are these bayous killing people? Don't go near the moors. Don't go near the bayous. I'm beginning to think there's creatures, or it could be just my vampire theory. I don't know. And that's someone posted on social media, vampires are real. There was some dude that went on, what was that model? She used to have a show. Tyra Banks was on her show, and then he disappeared after her show, but he claimed to be a vampire. And then now he supposedly showed back up looking younger than he did then 30 years ago. So I was like, see, vampires are real, and he's one of the ones patrolling the bayous, dumping bodies. Okay, actually, some real stuff here. Governor Abbott says, hey, don't let your guard down regarding the floods up in the hill country. There's still a lot of water. It looks like the rain is tapered off. But, we have that storm out in the Gulf that was looking a little scary, but I just saw an update from Jeff Lindner. He's the guy that, remember, they would always go to. And then I guess they went to him less because Lena Hidalgo needs all the airtime she can get now. So Dora the Explorer has to be out there mouthing off in gibberish as though she means something. Anyway, Jeff Lindner says increasing confidence that Tropical Depression 2 will have minimal impacts on southeast Texas, as a strong northerly shear of dry air and interaction with southern Louisiana create unfavorable conditions for development. While still likely to move westward, there is an increasing chance that the system will degenerate into an open wave with most of the moisture remaining offshore over the Gulf waters. But as always, it said keep an eye for changes. Things can change. So we got to keep an eye on it. But if it looks like it would be Friday before it made it near our area, or really maybe Friday or Saturday. Friday maybe going into Saturday morning. So here in the Houston area. But it looks like it could be another case of much ado about nothing. We'll keep you posted here on KSEV, that's for sure. Anyway, welcome back to the Manic Monday edition of the program. Glad to have you. I'm the aforementioned X-Man, and we're bringing you that gift beyond price that's almost free, ladies and gentlemen. We bring you the spirit of talk radio. Glad to have you here with us. The president spoke last Thursday. He declassified a lot of information showing voter tampering or tampering with elections in our country, and the Democrats could not have just brushed it off any harder, lied about it, including the propaganda. But by the way, you guys want to know why I call them propaganda outlet of the Democrat cult when I'm talking about the ABCs, NBCs, CNNs of the world? That's what I'm referring to. When the President of the United States gives a speech in prime time about actual tampering with elections, as they're trying to work to pass something to maybe secure our elections a little bit in Congress, they don't even carry the speech and preempt it by saying, well, he's a liar and he lies and these are lies and we just can't go through with all the lies. The state will tell you what to believe. Or in this case, the fifth column will tell you what to believe. Democrats and TDS, they don't care. They do not care one bit. Nope, not in the slightest. They released preemptive statements regarding the president, what he was going to cover. It was the most secure election in history. There is no tampering in our election. There is no voter fraud. When every bit of evidence comes out to support that, no, there's some tampering going on. Looks like China had a little something to do with it. In fact, there was an FBI agent who knew this, who sent an email who said, we're withholding this information from the president because they didn't want to give him anything to talk about. And they were withholding it from the American people. So there you go. So looks like President Trump's been vindicated, right? No, the Democrats still don't care. And the propaganda apparatus, well, because the Democrats don't care, they don't care. So they're going to continue pushing lies like the elections are secure. There is no problem with elections, and that's why we don't need to prove we're American citizens when we vote, because nobody would ever try to illegally vote in our elections, right? No one would ever try anything like that. So it looks like Transloaf, a.k.a. Ashley Webb, won't be replacing the Nazi tattoo candidate in Maine. It looks like it's going to be Troy Jackson. That's the one, the Democrat, people in charge. The delegates will tell you who will be their candidate in the Democrat primary in Maine, because they dumped the guy who won it, because he was a weird, perverted psychopath who masturbates in porta potties and talks about raping men if they broke into his house and treated women really poorly and said some sort of racist things. And what ties right in with the rest of the Democrat socialists, right? Well, he was gone because apparently he looks like he had some misdeeds with women in the past. I say with some women. I can imagine a whole lot of women. This guy just seems like a total dirtbag. Well, he got dumped. Sorry, he's dumped. He's gone. So now they gathered a bunch of candidates, got up and decided they're going to run. And one of them looked like Meatloaf in drag. So the nickname on the interwebs was Transloaf. Here was Transloaf being asked a question about, talk about why Transloaf would probably be a good senator or Senate candidate for the Democrat primary.
Oh, I ran for office several times. Didn't win, but I did run. And then I'm a songwriter, and then I write my own books. And then I suppose my transparency, I wouldn't lie to the people, and I wouldn't deceive the people like we're being deceived right now.
Except about your gender, but nonetheless, continue.
We get lied to. Smoke and mirrors, like what's going on with ICE, pretending like these victims did something wrong. Like, that's unacceptable. And I suppose the biggest thing is, I'm just an angry citizen now, and if I got elected, I'd be an angry senator, and I think that would probably be their worst nightmare.
Now, don't mean to laugh at the guy, because he's a guy. He's a man pretending to be a woman. He looks like Meatloaf in drag. If you've not seen it, look up Ashley Webb, Democrat primary, Maine. Transloaf is what we call him. Obviously was nervous. He actually sounded kind of like a nice guy. He kind of sounded all right. Seemed kind of a sweet person. But he writes books. He's a songwriter. Wait a minute. Songwriter. Hold on, I gotta hear that again. Wait a minute. It was what?
Oh, I ran for office several times. Didn't win, but I did run. And
I like how he just kind of laughs, didn't win, and he kind of laughs. Actually, it's kind of charming.
And I'm a songwriter.
Wait, hold on. Did you happen to write Paradise by the Dashboard Light? Or did you happen to write 2 out of 3 Ain't Bad? Or did you happen to write I would do anything for love, but I won't do that? He seems like a nice guy. Looks a little weird and dressed up in a dress, looking like Meatloaf. Am I allowed to say the character that Meatloaf played in the movie Fight Club? Lucas, can you look that up for me?
Checking.
He's checking. Am I allowed to say the character's name? They use it in the movie. I think I'm allowed to say it, but it could be a little racy. But it was what they called Meatloaf in the movie Fight Club, if you've ever seen it, which really has an odd connection to Transloaf, Ashley Webb. I actually kind of feel bad for the guy. But then again, maybe Graham Plattner was the best they had in Maine. I mean, I don't know. If I had to vote between Transloaf and Nazi tattoo guy, man, that's a tough call. Should I be laughing this hard about this? Does that make me transphobic? No, I think he seems like a pleasant guy. I don't think he'd be raping anybody. At least I don't think. He looks a lot like Meatloaf. Have we got an answer on that one yet, Lucas? Any answer on whether I can say Meatloaf's character's name in Fight Club?
I mean, his Christian name should be all right, but I'd be worried about the nickname.
Okay, the nickname, all right. I don't remember what the Christian name of the character was.
Well, his name was Robert Paulson.
Robert Paulson, otherwise known as Bleep Bleeps. We'll just leave it at that. Oh, so there you go. Okay, so there's that. And then I mentioned, by the way, we got a call, asked me about my UAP sighting that I saw a couple of years ago. And then that turned it into the Sky Talk. We were talking about UAPs and then looking up in the skies and looking at the solar system and the Milky Way and all that cool stuff you can see when you go up to the hill country, which I really enjoy. And, man, like I said, I've seen some cool stuff when you get up in the hill country because it's on a good, clear night. Man, it's awesome, especially when it's a night when the moon's not real bright. There are some times when the moon's so bright, it's almost like the sun. It's weird. It's, of course, not as bright. It's nighttime, but, man, you can see. I understand why the animals, whenever the moon is full and it's clear out there, man, they're out all night. They're out running around because, one, they don't have anyone shooting at them, and two is, man, like I said, you can see everything. To them, it has to be like daylight. But it's, like I said, that's one of the things I do enjoy about going up to the hill countries, to be able to go up there and just, man, look up the skies. You can look and see the satellites and stuff. It's very cool. Anyway, but there's actually a lot going on. I want to cover some of this. We can talk a little bit about Ken Paxton said he will be debating James Tallarico. If James Tallarico was voting in the Maine primary, Democrat primary, he'd be voting for Transloaf. I'm pretty sure he's a big fan of the trans community. He's made it very clear he loves trans children. He fanboys out of the trans podcast hosts. Has he tried to back off those statements as well yet? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if Ken Paxton can kind of pin him down. Of course, we already know what Tallarico's going to do. He's going to try to peg Ken Paxton as corrupt. He'll push that lie. A philanderer, because he had an affair on his wife that ultimately led to their divorce. Imagine probably wasn't the only one. I bet you he doesn't want to talk about how successful Ken Paxton was as the Attorney General for the state of Texas. I bet you he doesn't want to talk about that. So we'll see who's going to be able to peg the other. This is going to be a very interesting race. The seat is definitely in play. Democrats know it, and they're pouring money into Texas. I'm seeing those Tallarico ads every week now, where he's coming out of the little grocery store like in a small country town, talking about affordability and how he voted to cut people's property taxes. But did he? I'm thinking he's campaigning on everything he has stood against for the last 5 years in the Texas House. That's my gist of what I get from him. I think he's trying to pretend to be the exact opposite of what he has behaved as for the last 5 years, since he's been in the public eye. Maybe the other thing, too, is we don't know really. They claim, he's dating a girl, which I don't know if he really likes girls. But they claim he's dating a girl. She was on his campaign. Maybe he's still dating the girl. And they claimed he dated another girl who also happened to work on his campaign with screams of a beard. I don't know. Maybe he could have a relationship with Transloaf. I don't know. It'd be long distance. It may not work out. Would you be interested in watching a debate between Ken Paxton and James Tallarico? I'll definitely watch it. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. All right, national average of price of gasoline is back up above $4 a gallon today, as the U.S. has been pounding Iran. And we've had 2 or 3 soldiers that have been killed in the last few days. So that means the bombing of Iran gets more severe. I wonder if can I play Bomb, 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 Bomb Iran? You guys remember that one? Maybe I'll play that when we come back, because that's where we're back there again. Isn't it strange? The more things change, the more they stay the same, huh? Things are cyclical. Oh, they're weird. And, well, I guess this could be true. I mean, I guess, yeah. Killing in the name of what? The name of oil, gas, religion? Take your pick. 281-558-KSEV. I'm Chris X. We'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere.
The revolution continues after this. ChrisXradio. ChrisXradio.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate and O'Hara Homes. I'm going to pose some questions that you might want to research. Why was JFK assassinated? Did we really land on the moon? Is the Earth really a globe? And is it the size they tell us it is? Did 9/11 happen the way we were told? Are pharmaceutical companies really there to cure diseases? Who are doctors trained by? Did God create everything on earth that we need to stay healthy? Is fluoride in our water really helping us? What are those long trails of clouds left by airplanes, and what's in them? Did all the astronauts die in the Space Shuttle Challenger explosion? And is Elvis really dead? I search answers for everything. And if you're searching for a real estate company, give O'Hara Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393. Again, that's 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at oharare.com. I have a special guest with me, my granddaughter, Bailey.
God bless America, God bless Texas, and God bless my pop.
I started my first business when I was 12, mowing lawns for about $5 a yard. I learned if you do the job right, people trust you and customers care that you show up and do what you say you're going to do. Hi, I'm Tommy Mello, owner of Garage Door Doctor. From garage door repairs to upgrades, we show up, we stand behind every job. We only use the best parts, and spring's guaranteed to last a lifetime. When you care about the people you serve, you work harder and it shows. Call Garage Door Doctor today or schedule online at garagedoordoctor.biz.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nix Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nix Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nixplumbing.com.
NPL 38548.
Hey y'all, it's Craig Collins. I wanted to let you know that my show airs every afternoon on KSEV from 6 to 7 p.m. I also wanted to encourage you to follow our social media pages. We are now live streaming most of our local content on KSEV Radio's YouTube, Rumble, and Twitter pages, as well as some of our select shows on KSEV Radio's Facebook page. Once again, please follow us at KSEV Radio on YouTube, Rumble, and X. And please follow me at Radio Craig C on X and on Facebook.
Tune in each Sunday morning at 9 a.m. for On the Money with your host and CEO of Allied Wealth Texas, Ryan Wheelis, who can help you live your richest life possible during your retirement years. That's each Sunday at 9 a.m. right here on AM 700 KSEV.
President Donald J. Trump joining us right now on the Chris Salcedo Show. Sir, welcome.
Thank you. The people of our country are getting it. 2016, we had a problem with the border, but it was nothing compared to what it is. But now you look at this, and this is 100 times worse. Nobody can imagine.
Will you order mass deportations if you win the White House?
Oh, day one, we have no choice, and we'll start with the bad ones.
The Chris Salcedo Show, 7 to 9 a.m. on The Voice of Texas. ChrisX Radio.
I remember this song from ChrisX back in the late, was it 90s? Early 90s. This one, I remember It's Love. That was a good one. It's so weird. I used to watch the X-Files, and then, of course, there was ChrisX, which is from Houston. I never had any idea I would end up being ChrisX on the radio. That was not planned. It just, I think I've told the story before. I was a producer for another show. It was a financial show. And the guy used to talk to me on the air, and the boss wanted me to talk to him through an intercom and not talk to him through a microphone, so it would sound like it was a man in a booth, not us just sitting next to each other, and the little intercom broke. I couldn't speak. And the host was like, hey, I'm just going to sit here and have dead air until you talk to me. And I just said, I'm ChrisX. I can't talk right now. I'm ChrisX. I'm being repressed by the man. And it stuck. The next day, I think I had 100, maybe 200 phone calls. The next day, over the next few days, it was hundreds of calls. It was so weird. Hey, is this ChrisX? Are you ChrisX? I was like, well, I guess that's my radio name now. Which was better than what he wanted to call me. He wanted to call me Master C. I'm not a rapper, okay? Sorry. But anyway, went with ChrisX. I think it was the right call. People remember ChrisX. I don't know if anyone would remember Master C. There was already, a Master P? That guy? Did he go to prison? I think P. Diddy's in prison. And I don't think they're the same guy, so I don't know. Anyway, welcome back to ChrisX Radio. I don't know what came about it. I'm the aforementioned X-Man. If you want to join us here in hour number 2, 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. Okay, so as things have heated up here again between the U.S. and Iran, the average price of gasoline is climbing back up again. And they say it's above $4 a gallon now across the country. Now, some states are less, some are more. Here in Texas, it's much lower than that in most areas. But according to AAA, the national average for regular gas has reached $4 today, up from $3.82 or $3.87 a week ago, up from $3.14 a year ago. So it was about 70 cents cheaper a year ago. Prices have climbed after, of course, the interim agreement signed last month to end the fighting fell apart. The Iranians can't help themselves but to keep shooting at ships in the Strait of Hormuz, bombing their neighbors, and now they've killed, it looks like, at least 3 Americans that were in foreign countries on our bases. So that has, of course, triggered, 9 straight days of bombing from the U.S. President Trump is threatening now to target their power stations and bridges in an effort to force Tehran to loosen its grip on the Strait of Hormuz. I don't understand why they have a grip on the Strait of Hormuz at all. I think we should, like I said, be escorting all of the ships in and out. If we got to charge a little bit of money or whatever, then do it. And just anything that comes out of Iran, anything that remotely looks like it's coming from Iran, shoot it out of the sky. And then bomb the hell out of them again. Anywhere it's coming from, pound it into glass. It looks like the U.S. military has begun carrying out that strategy. The U.S. also has reimposed a naval blockade on Iranian ports last week to stop the country's crude oil exports. Yeah, that should never be allowed again. Not until all of this is well said and done, if they can come to some sort of agreement. But we know what the Iranians are doing. They're trying to wait out Donald Trump. They know he's done 2 years from now. They know he's severely hindered 3-4 months from now with the midterms. And then after the new year when they take office. If, in fact, the Democrats can keep from shooting themselves in the foot, which I don't know if they can. We'll have to see. They're going the Democrat socialist route, which is, as terrible as it is for the country, it's great for Republicans because the worst Republicans are better than that. But that's an awfully low bar. So anyway, the military said it had redirected 6 ships and disabled 1 other vessel since the blockade has resumed. Now, drivers are already seeing the effects of the pump. AAA data shows the average price of gas has topped $4 a gallon in 22 states, while drivers in 3 states are paying more than $5 a gallon on average. I think you can guess which states at least 2 of those 3 are. Indiana has supposedly the cheapest gas in the nation with an average of $3.35 per gallon. We're down around there, so we're in Texas. We're probably somewhere around there. I know I just paid what was like $3.30. Actually, I didn't. I had my Kroger points, so I paid $2.30. So yeah, I saved $1. I don't know. The only thing is I don't know if I buy enough groceries to offset that every time I fill up. I need to. But of course, that goes to affordability. If the gas prices go up, that does not bode well if gas prices continue to climb leading up into the midterms. This situation has to be at least, under control between then and try to, hopefully do that. Otherwise, we get stuck with some of these communist dirtbags in the House or the Senate or possibly both, and that could really, really make things tough on the American people. They claim to be for affordability, but they're not. They're terrible. They made things more expensive without a war in Iran. And they won't admit it because they know their little Marxists don't study history, and the state tells them what to believe, and they'll tell you what to believe. And then soon as they start imposing their will on the American people, it's awful. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. We'll come back. We can talk about President Trump's response. He says Iran will pay many times over after what they did when the U.S. soldiers had been killed in this Jordanian attack. They're attacking Jordan. One of the soldiers was from Texas, from Carrollton. The other was from Hawaii. And then I think there's a third one, but that one hasn't been identified yet. So it's we hate to hear any time our soldiers are getting killed. So yeah, it's time to maybe bomb them back into oblivion. And then we can talk about President Trump saying that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will not be arrested by Moron Mamdani, is what I call him, freaking moron. We can get into that and take your phone calls. 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. I'm Chris X. We'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere.
Fake news hates us.
Fake news hates us.
ChrisXradio.
ChrisXradio.
If you have roof problems, you can sure see them when it rains. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing. If you see a leak, call me immediately, 281-251-0304. I'll send over the Tejas Roof Repair truck.
That truck has everything our experienced crew needs to fix your roof, right then and there.
The Tejas Roofing crew has been working together fixing leaky roofs for 15 years.
It's not a pretty truck, but it has everything we need to get the job done. I kind of like the way it looks.
Most roofing repairs cost less than $500. Why? Because we find the cause of the leak and repair that leak. We won't try to sell you services you don't need.
And we'll fix it right away because everything we need is in our truck.
Don't put off fixing a leaky roof. Call me at Tejas Roofing and I'll send over the truck. 281-251-0304. When you think of roofing repairs or a new roof, think Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
Hey Houston, it's Dana Lash from The Dana Show. Join me weekday afternoons 2 to 4 p.m. on The Voice of Texas. Do you know how when you go to church and you hear a good sermon and then the preacher wraps up the sermon and then you have the guy who's supposed to give closing prayer, you get up there and give closing prayer. You don't give your own mini sermon. You don't go up there and give a second sermon that detracts from the pastor's sermon. You go up there, you do what you're supposed to do, and you shut up. You are listening to the home of The Dana Show, AM 700 KSEV, The Voice of Texas.
You know, where we go in life matters, and what we do matters, and we know that taking the wrong road won't produce the best outcomes. Hi, I'm Kathy with Baker Mortgage, and we want you to take the right path when it comes to your mortgage. You know, we live in a world of information overload, but always consider the source, and these are not generally going to be from your big bank or a random offer that comes across your screen. Remember, you're always going to get a better deal on one that you go looking for than one that comes looking for you. You need to deal with somebody who gives a you-know-what, whether or not you're happy in the end. At Baker Mortgage, we do it right. We haven't been around for 68 years because we're lucky. We don't sell CDs, insurance, or anything else. We just provide a great mortgage experience. Isn't that what you're looking for? Call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
From the KSEV Weather Center, tonight will be mainly clear with a low of 76. Tomorrow, expect mostly sunny skies and hot weather as temperatures approach the record high of 101 set in 2000 with a high of 100. Tomorrow night will be clear to partly cloudy with a low of 79. Moving on to Wednesday, anticipate hazy sunshine and hot conditions with temperatures tying the record high from 2023 at 101 degrees. With the KSEV Weather Center forecast, I'm AccuWeather meteorologist Jason Caterina.
Call ChrisXradio now, 281-558-KSEV.
You know, I was thinking about in the 70s and 80s when buying albums were a cool thing. I remember buying albums, the Led Zeppelin albums in the 70s and even in the 80s. And then was thinking of the greatest albums of all time. Def Leppard has some pretty good albums. And this is a good song. Started talking about the greatest albums of all time. Hotel California, that's an amazing album. And then you go to, the Boston's first album is incredible. But then you start going and looking at like some of the Beatles stuff, like the White Album was amazing. And then you go to the greatest album of all time. Realize I'm not even a massive Pink Floyd fan. They have two of the greatest albums of all time. The Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall. The Dark Side of the Moon was in the top 100 album sales for over a decade. And then it finally dropped out for one day and then went right back in. And then now nobody buys albums anymore. You just buy a song or whatever. Do people even make albums anymore? I know occasionally. I think musicians will do it for nostalgia. I don't know what kind of music Transloaf is making, but I'm thinking probably sounds an awful lot like Meatloaf. It looks like Meatloaf. He could get away with it if he can sing. Maybe they could go back on tour. Call it Bat Out of Hell. Or Bat Out of Hell 3, Transloaf. Okay, so anyway, welcome back to the program. If you want to join us, 281-558-KSEV, 281-558-5738. President Trump has warned Iran will pay many times over after U.S. soldiers were killed in this Jordan attack. He vowed a strong response after a couple of Army soldiers were killed in an attack on a military base in Jordan, saying that there's going to be severe consequences for their deaths, and he is still bombing Iran. They bombed them last night. Trump wrote on True Social, the directive has been passed on to Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Daniel Kaine, and every leader in the military. This was after the Department of War identified the 2 soldiers. There seems to be a third one as well that they haven't identified yet, that were killed at the Muwafaq Salti Air Base that was supporting Operation Inherent Resolve. The soldiers were identified as First Lieutenant Tyler James Freehand, 25, of Ewa Beach, Hawaii, and Private Isabella Gonzalez, 19 years old, of Carrollton, Texas. Gonzalez was killed on Friday, the day of the attack, while Freehand died the following day, according to the department. And so they're recognizing these great military heroes. I hate to see this. You hate to see these young people dying. That's why you should never take war lightly or any sort of military operation. CENTCOM said Sunday that the soldiers were killed in an Iranian attack and that a third soldier was remaining missing. I think they found the remains and they're trying to identify them. I don't know if they've been identified at this point. The Department of War said the attack's still under investigation, and Trump did not to provide any details regarding the military response. And it reminds me of something that came out back in about 1980, which I think was time to bring back to. We're back here again.
Some rocks. Tell the Ayatollah gonna put you in a box.
Ooh, Trump did put them in a box. At least 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of them.
Old Uncle Sam's getting pretty hot. Time to turn Iran into a parking lot. Bomb Iran.
You know, I think it is time to turn Iran into a parking lot. I just enjoy it. I remember this as a kid. Oh, here, listen. All right, enough of the bomb Iran. But that's where we are again. We're back to bombing Iran, which is something that is crazy considering the duly elected mayor of New York City. Does he want to arrest anybody in Iran? No. He wants to arrest Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Can you say anti-Semite dirtbag? His wife was a big fan of Hamas, a big fan of them breaking into Israel and murdering innocent concert goers and raping and torturing and murdering women and children. She's a big fan of it. She was promoting the hell out of it on social media. She doesn't want to be asked about it either. She doesn't want to talk about it now. That is the wife of Zoran Mamdani. I'm sorry, Zoran Mamdani. I like to call him Moron because he seems to be a total moron. President Trump said that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will not be arrested in any way, shape, or form while visiting the U.S. This is a response that comes, of course, as Zoran Mamdani, the mayor of New York, has said the International Criminals Court arrest warrant against the Israeli leader should be honored. So what's he going to do? He's going to send the New York Police Department after him? In a True Social post, Trump praised Netanyahu for fighting against the Islamic Republic of Iran and argue that Iranian leaders, not the Israeli prime minister, are the ones who should face arrest. The only ones that should be arrested are the people that led Iran into this unprecedented spiral of death and destruction, something that should have been dealt with years ago by previous presidents. Now, Trump's statement came out as Mamdani was asked by Fox News during an unrelated press conference about whether Netanyahu should be arrested if he visited New York City. Mamdani said Netanyahu is the subject of an international criminal court arrest warrant over alleged crimes against humanity and war crimes. It's funny how they always blame Israel. They don't blame the people attacking Israel that they're responding to. No, they don't blame them. They blame Israel. He said those allegations are facts of public record and that the International Criminal Court warrants should be honored whether they involve Netanyahu, Russian President Vladimir Putin, or whomever else. Pressed further, Mamdani stopped short of saying that his administration would arrest Netanyahu, saying that New York City would follow all applicable local laws. Well, therefore, you have no jurisdiction, slapnut. Why are you even talking about it? Oh, that's right, because you're an anti-Semitic dirtbag, just like your wife. Just like the rest of you Democrat socialists. You're anti-Semites. You're dirtbags. The ICC issued arrest warrants for Netanyahu in November of 2024 over allegations of war crimes. That's right, it hasn't been proven. And crimes against humanity related to the fighting in Gaza, where they were fighting Hamas, who later broke into Israel and attacked Israelis, innocent people, and murdered them indiscriminately and kidnapped over 200 people, that almost all of them came back in a body bag or dead. The U.S. is not a member of the ICC. In fact, last week, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced efforts to combat the international body, with the State Department saying that the ICC poses an intolerable threat to U.S. sovereignty. The ICC now seeks to become the unaccountable global arbiter, positioning itself above and beyond the nation state as a supranational enforcement arm of a globalist bureaucracy empowered to persecute American servicemen and officials at will, the State Department said in its announcement. No diplomatic option will be off limits in the campaign to dismantle the threat posed by the ICC to Americans. In other words, they have no jurisdiction over America. We're not a member, we're not going to be a member, and we will tell them to pound sand. And that goes for Americans, that goes for our allies, or anybody that we deem we want to move around here. So guys like moron Mamdani, I know it's Zoran, but I just like calling him moron. Guys like that dirtbag are just dirtbags. They're complete and utter dirtbags. Jumping in saying, oh, he should be arrested. Is he not talking about anybody arresting anyone from Iran or from Hezbollah or Hamas? His wife is busy promoting them on social media. Oh, I think she stopped now that she's the first lady of New York City. Did you ever watch the video of the Israeli woman confronting her? Soon as she realized the first lady of New York City, Mrs. Mamdani, realized that it was an Israeli citizen that was talking to her, she could not have just turned her head quick enough and walked away. Didn't want to say anything. Didn't want to talk to her. Huh. These people are being elected in these Democrat-run states. They're starting to elect anti-Semites. Electing communists who hide under the guise of Democrat socialism. These people are dirtbags. That's where today's Democrat Party is. The problem is the vast majority of the ill-informed people in our country, and those people swing elections, are completely unaware. They don't realize that the Democrat Party has been completely infiltrated by communist, Marxist, Democrat, socialist, anti-Semites. Guys like that poor dude Shapiro out of Pennsylvania, he's got no chance of running for president. Not as a Democrat. They're not going to vote for a Jewish guy. Are you kidding me? They hate the Jews. They claim they only hate Israel and the way they operate, but they hate Jews. They lie. They hide their anti-Semitism under a political disagreement. We've had them call into this program. They tried to convince me as hard as they possibly could, and I saw right through it, because anti-Semitism is on display when you're talking about how bad the Jews are. But, oh, no, you're just an anti-Zionist. You ignore facts and evidence to come to this stupid conclusion that somehow the Israelis are bad. So the Jews are bad? Well, not all Jews, just the Jews that are in Israel that support Israel and the state of Israel. Oh, so you don't support an Israeli state? That sounds a little anti-Semitic. What if we don't support a Muslim state? What if we just started going that route? Can we do that too? Or no, or is that considered anti-Semitic? Oh, that's right. You people make the dirtbag rules that you want followed because you're dirtbags. Which is also why that's some of the propaganda outlets didn't carry the president's speech last Thursday evening, when he revealed his administration had evidence that federal intelligence officials were withholding intelligence not only from the American people, but to the president about China's involvement in election tampering in the U.S. We'll take a break and then we'll come back. We'll talk about Nikki Flores, F-L-O-R-I-S, a former FBI analyst and senior leader who was charged with oversight of election security, once wrote that she was basically running a shadow government across the FBI. She was never elected for anything. She just decided that she was going to withhold information working for one of the agencies from the duly elected president. And the Democrats are totally cool with it. The Democrat socialists, totally cool with it. The Trump derangement syndrome folks, they're totally cool with it. In fact, they want to make sure that you don't secure our elections. 281-558 KSEV. We got one segment to go here on ChrisX Radio. We'll be right back to wrap up today's show. Don't you go anywhere.
The voice of Texas. The voice of reason. ChrisX Radio. ChrisX Radio.
Hey, it's Joe Pags. Are you ready for the latest news of the day? We're talking about local, state, international. We're going to be all over it. Plus, we're going to give you the proper spin, which means we're going to tell you the truth. You don't get that from a lot of outlets, but on the Joe Pags Show, we promise to always bring the truth before we give you any commentary. Plus, we open the phone lines to hear from you as well. Doesn't matter what the topic is. We're going to be all over it. Plus, we're going to make you think, going to make you angry, going to make you smile, might make you laugh, might even get you to sing along. Don't miss even 1 second of the Joe Pags Show right here on KSEV and KGBC. Still the voice of Texas.
Offices located 1 Sugar Creek Center, Sugar Land, Texas.
Thinking of buying a home? It's important to start off with a solid pre-approval. Hi, I'm Kathy Baker from Baker Mortgage. Yes, we ask a lot of questions, but that's because we're not going to give you a pre-approval that's going to blow up as you're trying to cross the finish line. What's figured in there for property taxes? If it didn't come up, you really don't know what you're pre-approved for. That should make you wonder what else they may have left out. At Baker Mortgage, we get it right. We haven't been around for 60 years because we're lucky. Yes, we have wholesale rates, 80-10-10s, and all kinds of programs, but in the end, it's really about taking good care of people, and they continue to come back and send their kids, their friends, and sometimes their parents. Whether you're buying, building, or refinancing, call us at Baker Mortgage. We're at 281-313-6683. That's 281-313-MOVE or directly at bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License 263213.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Nick's Plumbing offers free estimates and free second opinions. Call Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services, 713-868-9907, or visit us on the web, nicksplumbing.com.
MPL 38548.
Hey, this is Dan Pastorini. Tune into the Press Box with Russell Sherrill here on The Voice of Texas.
Now get a full hour of the Press Box. Weekday mornings now 6 to 7 a.m. here on AM 700 KSEV, The Voice of Texas.
Tune in to the Ray Massey Reverse Mortgage Show each Friday at 1 p.m. and Saturdays at 3 p.m. with Trabo Mortgage. Or call Ray directly at 855-266-1600 or online at reversemortgages4Texans.com.
ChrisX here to tell you about Humble Amco transmission and AC specialists. People who know go to Amco. I personally trust Jay Streckfus and Humble Amco with all of my vehicle's needs. With complete car care, they'll take care of all of your auto needs as well. Always a free check engine light inspection, and tell them that ChrisX sent you for a free engine scan. Call Jay today at 281-446-0862. That's 281-446-0862 or online at humbleamco.com.
A look at this week's news headlines and more with a religious touch. The Sentinel Report, every Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
And now, we return you to your regularly scheduled dose of common sense. ChrisXradio.
ChrisXradio.
A little Soundgarden to work your way out of the show. Welcome back to ChrisX Radio. You've reached the final segment of today's program here on our Manic Monday edition. We'll be back tomorrow for our Taco Tuesday edition of ChrisX Radio. Oh, yeah, every Tuesday is Taco Tuesday. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to eat tacos every Tuesday. But I do think about them, especially this time of the evening when it's past dinner time and I haven't eaten and I'm hungry. I try to adjust, but it's so weird. I've never literally in my entire life ever really had a normal schedule. It's always getting up super, super early or getting up super late. I don't get up super late anymore. I can't sleep in like I used to. But it's never been a normal schedule. Like, I guess normal people try to eat around, 5 or 6? I don't know. Do normal people eat at 6, 7 o'clock in the evening? I don't know. Anyway, welcome back to the program. Once again, we're going to wrap things up here, and then we'll be back tomorrow for our Taco Tuesday edition. All right, let's jump to the phones here before we run out of time. Looks like we have El Marco on the line. Hey, Marco, thanks for hanging on. Welcome to ChrisX Radio.
Hey, yeah, Chris. I wasn't able to listen to the first hour of your show, so I don't know how much it was probably covered, but I wanted to talk just briefly about Trump's announcement or his speech on Thursday and then the fallout that happened the last couple of days. And then also in conjunction with that, though, there was one thing that's been circulating now the last day or so that is a collage of about 5 minutes worth of counter argument against what they're saying about, the elections and all this and protesting it when they were talking about nothing but the Russians hacking into our elections, stealing, manipulating votes and all that. I don't know if you saw that montage that's been going around, but it's like 5 minutes nonstop of Clinton and a whole bunch of other people saying that, 2016 was illegitimate president and stolen and blah, 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 blah. But, now you're hit with actual facts where it is proven that China did it. And it's like, oh, no, that's all a lie. So
No, I didn't talk much about it. I just talked about this FBI agent that was running a shadow government, according to her in her emails, where they were withholding information from the president regarding China's involvement with election tampering and some of the things they were doing. But, yeah, I watched the speech, and I haven't talked much about it because it was, 5 days ago now, I guess, or 4 days ago.
Yeah.
So, but, yeah, no, it's funny because, once again, the most hilarious thing is watching them say you're an election denier, Trump's an election denier, when all of them were election deniers, as you mentioned, in 2016, because they were all just convinced Hillary was going to win. And then when she didn't, then all of a sudden they just melted down and lost their minds. And once again, if the Democrats didn't have double standards, we know the old adage, Marco, they'd have none at all.
Yeah. But, okay, well, I'll let it go in case someone else wants to slip in, but I thought I'd give it a shot. Take care. So
right.
We'll be in touch. Thanks, Chris.
All right, that sounds good. Thanks for the call, Marco. Appreciate it. Yeah, I haven't talked a ton about what he covered because it's been covered ad nauseum, since then. But basically the Cliff's Notes version is the president spoke. He opened up whitehouse.gov with the information, the evidence that has been declassified that showed there was involvement in tampering with elections. And what happened, and the Democrats couldn't ignore it any harder. They're the ones busy accusing people of stealing elections. It's all legit in their case, and they control the propaganda outlets, which is ABC, NBC, CBS. CBS, maybe they're losing their grip on CBS thanks to Barry Weiss. That's kind of messing with them. But as far as CNN and MSDNC, which is now Ms. Now, so those kind of, they couldn't prove any harder that they're propaganda at this point by the way they operate. So, and that's you know what, that is a huge albatross to contend with. All right, let's get one more call in before we run out of time. We got Chris listening in Spring. Chris, thank you for hanging on. Welcome to ChrisX Radio.
Hey, buddy, did you happen to go over the Judge Roberts majority opinion in the birthright case? Did you have to read it yet? Had a chance?
I just kind of looked at the highlights when it came out, basically, but no, I did not go through it completely.
Yeah, he references English law multiple times. I mean, he might as well have said the Magna Carta. What the hell does English law have to do with America in 2025, 26? The Supreme Court has lost its intellectual priorities, and we are going to lose everything. We got to get the right people on that court. English law, they can't even run London. It's devastating, Chris. Have a good one.
Thanks for the call, Chris. Yeah, you know what's funny? I did remember that part. And I was like, when he said, I'm like, wait, hold on. We're 250 years beyond English law or British law. What? I had the exact same response. What the hell are you talking about? So it has nothing to do with it. The thing was, you had Kavanaugh open the door, basically saying that, hey, Congress has a job. Once again, it makes no sense how they came to the conclusion they did on birthright citizenship. When you go back and read the 14th Amendment and read the writings around it and what it was done basically for slaves. The Democrats didn't want slaves to be able to vote in elections. They didn't want slaves to be U.S. citizens. The same dirtbag Democrats are the same ones that don't want, ID in elections. They're the same ones that don't want any sort of election integrity. It specifically says foreign dignitaries who travel to the United States, if they have children born in this nation, they're not U.S. citizens. But somehow their interpretation came that any Tom, Dick, and Harry from any part of the world can come here illegally, have a kid, and that kid is entitled to all the rights of being an American citizen. It could not have been any more wrong. It could not have been any more retarded in the literal sense of retardation, and it couldn't have been any more stupid. It makes no sense, and it looks like some people are trying to get some legislation in order. All right, gang.